Alrighty, but I don't know if you saw Greg's message, but panelists can unmute and start video.
I need to be unmuted, right, the entire time for any sound. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We will begin in just a few moments. Bear with us. We're waiting for more people to get situated and in their seats. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your patience. My name is Yvette Chavez Villarreal. I am the Civic Engagement Director at Valley Voices. First and foremost, I want to give you all thanks for making the time to come out to the King County Congressional Candidate Forum tonight. I know that we all have many things to do, and carving out the time to be here and speak to the residents of Kings County, but also Congressional District 20 and 22, both in person and online via Zoom. It means so much. So to get started, I want to share a little bit about Valley Voices. Some of you are familiar with our organization, and others, this is the first time that you might be hearing about Valley Voices. Valley Voices is a nonprofit, nonpartisan 501c3 organization that was established in 2019 to increase civic engagement and participation in Kings County and the unincorporated areas of Fresno and Tulare County. So civic engagement, large portion of the work that we do, but we also, being that we started in 2019, as we all know, we were thrust into a global pandemic in 2020, and and thus that, that, and thus that prompted us to respond to the needs of our community. So since 2020, we have been out in the community in Kings County and unincorporated areas of Fresno and Tulare County, providing COVID resources. We have been partnering with local health jurisdictions to give out free PPE weekly at various locations, also hosting COVID-19 pop-up vaccine clinics. And most recently, we've started connecting people to local resources that we might not that have services that we don't provide personally. A lot of the work that we do is we connect people to the resources that they need. As you know, Kings County is an underserved community. There is a lot of need in this area, so we respond to the needs of our community. Many times when we're out at different events, we have folks come up to us and ask us, hey, what do you know about I have this issue. And while we might not provide those services, we say, hey, we don't provide those, but so-and-so organization does. Let me give you that phone number, or let me connect you to this person that you need to speak to. Some other work that we do, another one of our portfolios, is we educate our community about their workers' rights. As you know, everyone in California that has a job has rights, and a lot of the time, these people aren't informed about what those rights are, and that makes it very easy for employers sometimes to violate those rights, whether willfully or inadvertently. So we want to empower our communities in more ways than one. So we started connecting folks to that information as well. And another resource that we provide at Valley Voices. We just recently, in October 2023, began organizing community food distribution. We started with 2 locations, in Avenel and in Stratford, and we started hosting those food distributions as a response to the need in our communities, specifically for farm working communities who were impacted by the flood, the Tulare Lake flood, and the loss of work, not only because of that, but also just now they still suffer from impact from their work slowing down. We were prompted to do this based on the findings of the farm worker health study, which we participated in with the Community and Labor Center at UC Merced, which found that a large portion of farm workers are food insecure. And that is a gap that we seek to bridge in our community. So in Stratford, we are there the 3rd Saturday of each month from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And if any of you in the audience know anybody who would need to attend that food distribution, or if any of you would like to volunteer there, we are more than happy to have you. In Avenel, we also have this event. We've partnered with the city of Avenel and the school district there to host not only the food distribution, but also in conjunction with the pop-up clinic from 2 to 8 p.m. And that's just a little bit about the food distribution. Now, what we're going to do now is go over a little bit of housekeeping for our friends that are on Zoom. Okay, so if you are on Zoom and you need interpretation services, we do have Linguistica providing simultaneous interpretation, both in person and online. But if you are joining us via Zoom, here are some directions on how to activate your Zoom based on what device you are using. So how to set up your interpretation. If you're on a computer, you will, or a cell phone or tablet, you will find the interpretation button, which should be located at the bottom of your screen. It might be under the More tab. You will click the More tab, you will find the language interpretation option, and then select interpretation languages. And click on that. And then you will want to click on mute original audio. Okay, now some Zoom rules for everybody. Please make sure you keep yourself on mute, those of us who can unmute, so that we can all hear questions and candidates.
May I give the instructions in Spanish really quick?
Yes.
Thank you. Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos. Nada más queremos recordarles de que tenemos interpretación simultánea en español disponible para esta reunión. Una vez que la interpretación sea encendida, si usted ingresó utilizando una computadora, va a ver el icono de un mundo en la parte de abajo del menú de Zoom. Por favor, seleccione ese mundo y seleccione el canal de español. También le invitamos a silenciar el audio original para que solo escuche una voz a la vez. Si usted ingresó con un teléfono móvil o una tableta, sus opciones son un poco diferentes. Va a tocar su pantalla, va a buscar los tres puntitos, ya sea en la parte de arriba o abajo de su dispositivo. Seleccione donde dice más o more. Seleccione interpretación de idiomas. Después seleccione el canal de español. Y por último, el botón que diga done, listo o finalizado. Y también puede silenciar el audio original para que solo escuche una voz a la vez. Muchas gracias. We can start interpretation now, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So please make sure to keep yourself on mute so that we can all hear the questions and candidates. Our tech team has the ability to mute you if needed. This video is being recorded. So if you are staying, you are agreeing to being recorded. So here we're going to introduce our candidates. In the room, we have Mr. Ben Duell, who is a candidate for Congressional District 20, as well as Mr. Kyle Kirkland. And we also have Ms. Marissa Wood via Zoom joining us tonight, all candidates of Congressional District 20. And if you take a look at the screen, you will notice that we also have listed the rest of the candidates for District 20 who are not present. So now I am going to hand it over to my colleague, Claire Fidiossi, so we can begin the candidate, the Congressional District 20 forum.
Okay, thank you all for your patience. I'm Claire Fidiossi with Valley Voices, and we're excited to hear from our candidates. So each candidate will have a minute to introduce themselves, and then I will read a question, and each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the question, and then we will rotate through the candidates with each of the questions. So we're going alphabetically. For just 1 minute, Ben, would you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ben Duell, and this is my second run for the redistricted 20th Congressional District. I'm running as a no-party independent, and yes, I filed before the massive pile-on of less courageous candidates piling in to fill a vacuum. I'm currently in my second elected term as director with the Stallion Springs Community Service District, where I have 6 years of direct nonpartisan experience legislating vital government services, such as police, water, sewer, solid waste, roads, parks, etc. I have hired both the general manager and the chief of police. I'm also serving my second term on the hearing board of the Eastern Current Air Pollution Control District. As chairman and frequently as sole adjudicator of various petitions sought by entities as varied as National Cement, U.S. Borax, and my time's up already.
Thank you, Ben. I know, you'll have more chance to talk. So we're gonna go to our next candidate. Kyle, if you would please introduce yourself, 1 minute.
Sure, my name is Kyle Corcoran, and thank you everyone for having me here tonight. I'm a candidate for District 20 to the Congressional seat. I'm running as a Republican. I'm the non-career politician in the race. I've had 4 decades of business experience, and that's what I bring to the community. I saw an opportunity to get in this race because I felt that there were a lot of problems that we're facing today as a community, as a district, and a nation. And I looked and I felt that there are not a lot of problem solvers that sort of bar people from getting there and get the consensus. So if you look at, if you go to my website, Kirkland 2024, you can read a lot about my history. I was, my mom was a teacher, my dad was a banker, grew up back east, been in California for 35 years. The last 15 years of it here in the Central Valley, I went to casino in Fresno. I give a lot back to the community. A lot of folks know me as for my animal rescue work, chair of the Fresno chapter too. And again, I'm just very pleased to be here with you.
Thank you, Kyle. All right, Marissa, can you unmute yourself? And I still see you muted.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, it was telling me that the host was not going to let me speak. I get it. I'm a teacher, so I love a captive audience. Good evening. I so appreciate the opportunity to participate via Zoom. I did have some commitment at my school. I've been a teacher, a junior high English teacher for the last 23 years at Fairfax Junior High School. I did move on to the general election against Kevin McCarthy last cycle, and I'm very proud of the race that I ran, and I look forward to again running it in this district. And guys, I'm running because I think, like a lot of you, I am tired, right, of the partisan politics that has plagued Congress and has prevented them from moving any sort of action forward for the good of this district and for the good of this country. So I'm here to continue my advocacy. The last 23 years, I've been working for my students and their families, advocating for them, and ensuring that they get the best education they possibly could. So I look forward to the opportunity to earn your trust and your vote. And the Marisa you see tonight is the Marisa you'll see in Washington. So I look
Thank you,
forward to it.
Marissa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, question number 1. My screen isn't advancing now. It is. So we all run meetings and do things all the time, but this is our first situation like this. So thank you all for your patience. Okay, we're going to start at the beginning alphabetically for this first round of questions. So Ben, for you first, what areas of public policy are you personally passionate about? 2 minutes.
Well, I have 3 priorities. My reason for being in this race is the preservation of democracy. Secondly, border security. And third, restoration of congressional legislative power. How does that play out? Preservation of democracy. I'm an independent. I'm representing you. I'm not representing any party. I am totally party independent. The partisan sclerosis that has clogged the arteries of government and strangled the nation is not something we can continue. I have neither Democrat values nor Republican values. I only have values. Country over party. I'm running as your representative. I will not be spending my time on the phone with donors or party apparatus, only working for you for the time I'm in Congress. Border security. It's pretty clear to everybody that we need something done with the border. And frankly, as I wrote my positions 2 months ago, they pretty much mirror what has been offered by the current bipartisan propositions in Congress now, through the Senate and those in the House. We know that party partisanship is preventing the continuation of voting on these policies, and that has to stop. Restoration of congressional legislative power. Well, over the period of 30 years, the Congress has given their power away to the executive branch. And only by working from the middle out as an independent can you, or can I as an independent, take that power back from the executive branch.
Thank you, Ben. All right, Kyle, you're up next. The question again, what areas of public policy are you personally passionate about? And if you want to hold your microphone, you can.
Thank you. Can everyone hear? So for me, I'm obviously a business candidate. I've been involved in economics my entire life. I feel very strongly about our economy, our market economy. I think it drives a lot of what we do in the United States. It gives us a way of life that other can be. It also lets us afford to do things like defend ourselves and be generous and compassionate in the world. I feel very strongly about the market economy. One of the things that I will advocate for is the free market system through lighter regulations, more focus on how do we bring down the cost of living for people. And I think that's really important and seeing that throughout the district. Certainly people are concerned about crime. Certainly people are concerned about the border. But in terms of policies that I'm passionate about, I'd like to focus on the priorities of the district, which seem to be that high cost of living, border crime, and perhaps water here in the county. But it changes over time. And I think what I bring to Congress is the ability to actually look and work with people, understand complex problems, come up with solutions, and actually work with both sides of the aisle to get to a solution. A little bit different than the other Republicans who are running the race, because I have worked in an industry where highly regulated industry, and as we say, so I had to work with other folks to get things done. And so when I would go back to the policies that I'm best at and most passionate about, certainly the economy, and making sure that that's working for everyone in terms of cost of living. And then the other problems as they come up, I feel like I can bring my problem solving skills to bear on it, be it the border, water regulation.
Thank you, Kyle. And now, Marissa, what areas of public policy are you personally passionate about? Again.
There we go. Thank you. Again, it kept saying that the host was not permitting me to unmute. So I apologize. The policies that I am most passionate about are first, one is twofold. I believe we need to strengthen our border security, that we need to make sure that we handle both the criminals that are coming into this country. We also need to address the backlog of asylum cases that are coming into this country as well, and in creating that crisis at the border. I believe that immigration, especially here in the Central Valley, where we depend so much on the work of immigrants. They are the heart and soul of our agricultural success. And I believe we need to make sure we get immigration reform in place so that they can have a path to citizenship and protections. I also believe that it's important to work towards the creation of affordable housing. So many folks in our district and across the country are working multiple jobs, and still not able to afford housing for their families. I am also concerned about crime, the level of crime, which goes hand in hand with poverty in this community. And I'm working at solving those issues, which again take a look at the root causes of crime and addressing those causes. I also am concerned and passionate about the issue of the homeless and the unhoused in our district. Again, I believe that collectively we can work together as communities of support to move these folks from the street to shelter while also giving them the services they need to reverse and treat the situations that landed them there on the street. So I look at these are my policies that I'm passionate about. There we go.
Thank you, Marisa. Our next question, and we're going to start with Kyle this time. What is your definition of religious freedom? 2 minutes.
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, I believe religious freedom is the opportunity to practice your faith without the government intruding on that. Everyone should be allowed to do that. Actually, my ancestor fled into Church of England and Presbyterian minister and came out on the second one and landed in this country. But I believe that anybody that's in this country should be allowed to practice their religion to their own choice and freedom. And I don't believe anyone else should intrude upon that. So it's a pretty straightforward position for me, and I think that's what I said.
Thank you, Kyle. Marisa, we'll go with you next. What is your definition of religious freedom?
My definition of religious freedom is just that we are able to choose. Religion is a personal relationship with your God and with your faith, and each of us have the right to either have a religious faith or not to. So freedom, religious freedom means that without government restraints, we are free to practice the faith that we choose, or if we choose not to have a faith, that those must be completely separate from all regulations of the state and of the government. It's freedom of religion and freedom of choice.
Thank you, Marisa. And Ben, what is your definition of religious freedom?
Well, my definition of religious freedom is that it is your religion, it is your belief, and it isn't to impose on other people. It is an independent process, and it is between you and your God or your spirit, whatever you believe in. I believe separation of church and state. I think that's the only way democracy can ever work. Like Kyle, my ancestors came over on a boat. The boat was called the Mayflower. One was a escapee from the Church of England, and the other was a carpenter. So my folks have been here a long time, and it began as religious freedom. Freedom of religion, not freedom to religion, other people.
Great, thank you. Our next question, we'll start with Marisa. Should you be elected, how would you ensure your policies reflect the diverse values of our society?
I believe that comes with a compromise. Number one, it also comes with listening to one another. We all have different views as to how best to serve our constituents and this country. And I think we've become so polarized as of late, where if you don't think the way that I think, then you must be an enemy. So I believe it all starts with making sure that we listen to one another. There's so much power in listening, and then come together to find the solution that integrates all of our beliefs and all of our priorities. And that way we come up with the best solution that serves everyone.
Thank you. Ben, same question. Should you be elected, how would you ensure your policies reflect the diverse values of our society?
The best way for anyone to make sure that policies reflect the society is to listen. Listen to everybody, all voices. My values are only important in the ability to maintain a kind of a center for people to follow if they wish is all I can do. I've been trained as a harm reduction specialist, and I've learned to listen to people and try to understand their various perspectives, and not to act on them until there's some consensus, some agreement. And that's my pledge to you as a representative, is to listen to you. My values are my values and not necessarily your values.
Thank you. And Kyle, for you, should you be elected, how would you ensure your policies reflect the diverse values of our society?
I think at this point in my life, I'm 61 years old, and what you see is what you're going to get. And my core values are such that I like working with everybody. While my position that I'm taking on a particular issue might not be completely in line with yours, I think I'm very capable of finding common ground. What I've found in my life is that if I deal in absolutes, what ends up happening very frequently, I end up being wrong or embarrassed, and I don't like either one of those. So one of the things that's been very encouraging that's gone around this district, which frankly is very diverse in the size of Maryland. I see that there, what we see out in the public are the extreme positions to the right and left, but the vast majority of folks are somewhere in the middle, varying shades of red and blue. And I think those people can get along and figure out ways to solve problems before. Everything good that happens in our life is effort, and that means working with a lot of folks. And I've done that my entire career for 4 decades. You can look at the folks in the workforce, the businesses I've had. You can look at boards, nonprofits, things that I've worked with. I've been reelected chair of the zoo every time unanimously, and I would say the majority of the board is Democrats. And if they look at me and say, hey, that guy's a pretty fair guy, that's got a good common sense approach to things and can get to results. So what I bring in terms of the diversity is I've worked with an awful lot of people, and I know to get to results, you need to work collectively.
Thank you. Our next question will start with Marisa. What is your stance on healthcare reform, and what specific changes would you push for?
I believe that we need to instill some sort of universal health care or something close to that, where everyone has access to quality, affordable health care. I believe when you start to put a profit on someone's health, then that's where we run into risks. We need to make changes in terms of how prescription drugs are negotiated and the cost that they are for folks. We need to make sure that folks have access to physicians and healthcare for their families, because as a nation, we need to make sure that everyone is healthy, and that makes for a solid community. So my belief is that we have to have some sort of universal health care where everyone has access to quality health care.
Thank you. Ben, for you, what is your stance on healthcare reform, and what specific changes would you push for?
I believe that everybody deserves health care. It's the only way that we can reduce costs is by making health care universally available, however that happens. I'm a believer that this way of working towards this goal can happen in a number of ways, but it is important that we work towards that goal. It's kind of a shame, a real shame that drug companies make so much more off of Americans than they do in European economies around the world. So some sort of universal negotiation, as is done with Medicare now, certainly would be a way to work towards healthcare reform. But in general, I feel like this is a human right. As much as water, air, we need healthcare for everybody. It will save us money in the long run.
Thank you. The interpreters are asking that we speak directly into the mic so that they are able to interpret. So I think in this room, we can hear really well, but it's the people online. All right, Kyle, your turn. What is your stance on healthcare reform and what specific changes would you push for?
Well, sure. As the other candidates have said, I believe in healthcare for everyone. It's important for us in terms of our survival, and also the humane these things do for society. But I also think we're all responsible for healthcare in some way. I'm a business person, right? I'm not going to apologize for being a capitalist, so I'm not going to get up there and bash healthcare companies. But I can tell you, when I've consumed healthcare, it's an awful lot of waste, an awful lot of extra testing, other things that need to be done that drive the cost of that up for everyone. Right? That's the cost. So I look at the healthcare system, take a hard look and say, what can we be doing to make healthcare and delivery more efficient for the folks out there? But again, as I said, I think we're all responsible for that. As our country ages, it's going to become more important for us. But too often people treat their body like a rent-a-car, and then when they go in to get it fixed, it's more expensive. I think it's really important for us to look at preventative policies that we can do to reduce things like type 2 diabetes, reduce the obesity in America, have our people more healthy, cutting back on heart disease, cutting back on smoking, things like that. But a huge portion of our health cost results from obesity, heart disease, smoking, some of those things that we need to curtail. It was exposed during COVID when those people with comorbidities were most at risk. So I think as a society, we need to take a hard look at that and say, listen, we need to have healthier lifestyle if we're going to sustain sustainable healthcare system. But certainly as a business person, I would look in and say, we need to make this more efficient in terms of its delivery, less wasteful, and that will reduce the cost for all.
Thank you. Our next question, and we'll start with you, Ben. Would you back legislation like HR 1511, which aims to amend the Immigration and Nationality Act to provide a pathway to citizenship for immigrant individuals contributing to our district's agricultural industry and economy?
Yes, I actually would back that. And that is one of my main points in border security that I have put on my site, benduel.com, that guest workers or workers who are not necessarily citizens, and particularly DACA, are treated as people who can gain citizenship in this morass of security and border security that we have. We need to support economic and political asylum seekers. And DACA goes without saying, I think, those that are here already, but those that are here illegally, we need to take a hard look at them, get more asylum judges, and have those cases heard in a timely fashion. The non-adjudicated asylum seekers within our borders should be invited to leave. And people who are invited in as guest workers, as workers vital to agriculture, should be able to attain status, but they should be accountable, and their employers should be accountable for their status as long as they are no longer, as long as they are not actual citizens. pathway to citizenship is very important, but it has to be done legally.
Thank you. Kyle, would you back legislation like HR 1511, which aims to amend the Immigration and Nationality Act to provide a pathway to citizenship for immigrant individuals contributing to our district's agricultural industry and economy?
Yeah, it's a great question. Again, as I said before, one of the things that's come up for people is obviously the border crisis and immigration. Again, beyond absolute problematic. There's a good group of folks out there that say, well, 11 month folks, we should support them. And there's 11 months we should provide them amnesty. And I'm not in favor of either one of those support them. We're built on legal immigration, vital for the agriculture here in the Central Valley. And that's not only important for us that would like to eat, it's important for us in terms of national security. With respect to 1511, without getting into the specifics of it, I think all of the plans that have been put forth right now need work. They need practical business people and folks that can think outside the box and look at. That's something that I bring. I would look at any piece of these legislations and say, I want to bring in some of the out of the box creative thinkers that have brought us technological advances that have improved our way of life, and not just the ideological digging in, pointing rhetoric back and forth. I would want to look into the bill and say, okay, how do we really determine the 11 million folks that are here who have been here legally? And remember, we have fundamental needs of fairness. We have an awful lot of folks in the United States today who struggle to pay for their own housing, healthcare, education, food, gas, whatever. And to sit there and say, hey, listen, jump the fence and you get it for free, that is problematic and fundamentally unfair to those who are responsible. So when I look specifically at the bill and dig in and say, okay, how do we get to a practical path for someone that is serving agriculture and serving the needs of our nation? But certainly immigration has to be legal. It's what we're built on, but with respect to fairness and rule of law, we need to have lawful immigration.
Thank you, Kyle. Marisa, would you back legislation like HR 1511, which aims to amend the Immigration and Nationality Act to provide a pathway to citizenship for immigrant individuals contributing to our district's agricultural industry and economy?
Absolutely. I support any legislation that looks at creating a path to citizenship for immigrants. And I want to make something clear. I think there's an alarming generalization that is made to undocumented immigrants that they come here not willing to work or trying to get free services from this country. And that's not true. What we need to understand is undocumented immigrants pay into our federal income taxes, state income taxes, as well as being strong consumers and that contribute to the economy. And these people, especially here in the Central Valley, our immigrants are, like I said, the heart and soul of our agricultural success. And I want to share a quick story about a family and so many of my families that I teach in my school. This one family, both parents were undocumented immigrants when they came to this country. Dad had a tragic accident when the two students I had were in 6th and 4th grade. As a result, mom had to go and work 2 and 3 jobs. Fortunately, there were 2 older siblings in that family who took care of making sure the younger siblings and all of them got the homework done and whatever mom couldn't do. But I'll tell you what, mom never missed a single back to school night or event that her students did. And those 2 younger students that I had, one received the Gates Millennium Scholarship by the Gates Foundation, which paid for their education all the way through doctorate. The second student received an academic full ride scholarship to first USC and then to UC Santa Barbara. Mom has now become a United States citizen. These are the folks we need here in this country. These are the folks who need to have an accessible pathway to citizenship because they come to this country fully prepared to work, fully
Thank you,
prepared.
Marisa.
Thank you.
Our next question, and did we start with Ben last time? I'm sorry. Okay,
You
Kyle,
did
you're up.
start with Ben last time, yeah.
Okay, Kyle, what are your thoughts on America allocating billions of taxpayer dollars to foreign countries while facing pressing issues at home, like housing and healthcare crises, escalating cost of living, climate concerns, and various other humanitarian challenges? And the second part of this question is, what is your stance on endorsing a permanent ceasefire and discontinuing financial aid and weapon sales to Israel?
Hey, that's quite a question for 2 minutes.
So these questions are from the community,
I think
so.
it took them longer to write that in 2 minutes, so I'll see what I can do here. Well, first of all, I believe that, you know, people should pay their own way. The United States is a very wealthy country, and, you know, as I said earlier in my opening remarks, I believe the market economy, it's allowed us to be humanitarian. We're the only country that wanted to actually gone to war and wanted to actually be built. So, we've been very fortunate in that regard when put in a difficult situation. With respect to supporting our allies, I'm believing in it. If we have allies across the world, we need them. We're not, you know, it's not just us on this earth, it's others, and there are people whose interests are counter ours, so we need to support our allies. But I also believe that it's very important to understand where we stand in terms of the moral high ground in the conflict. And it's disappointing to me when it's not very clear. We just pick one again, an absolute, oh, we're going to support this side, we're going to support the other, and without really digging into the values. I feel strongly that other countries should contribute to that as well. If we're in conflict together, we should. And with respect to the second part of the question, I believe is Israel. I believe that the United States needs to stand with Israel as our ally in the nation. I believe they started the conflict with moral high ground. I am concerned that that conflict as it goes on, where that moral high ground goes. As I've said repeatedly on our extreme position, I often find myself wrong there. But I do believe that it's very important for us to look at these conflicts and in every case advocate for peace. It's so important to us as a country. The more when we have benevolence for everyone, but we do have difficult situations around the world where we have to come to the aid of our allies. I believe it's still responsible.
Thank you. Marisa, what are your thoughts on America allocating billions of taxpayer dollars to foreign countries while facing pressing issues at home, like housing and healthcare crises, escalating costs of living, climate concerns, and various other humanitarian challenges? And what is your stance on endorsing a permanent ceasefire and discontinuing financial aid and weapon sales to Israel?
To answer the first part of the question, I believe that it is important for us to support democracy all across the world. In specific relation to the billions of dollars that have been sent to Ukraine, I fully support this, especially in light of the recent events in Russia where Alexei Navalny was murdered. Putin has got to be stopped, and we have to defend the democracy of Ukraine. So I would support continuing the allocation of funding to Ukraine. And again, that in the larger issue, that all depends again on who we are supporting. I do believe, like I said, we need to support democracy all across the world. And I would, Taiwan is another example where I am 100% behind the support of Taiwan against the Chinese as they attempt to take over and take the sovereignty away from Taiwan. I have a very clear answer for the second part of the question. While Israel is our only democracy in the Middle East, I, however, would absolutely endorse a permanent ceasefire. I refuse to send financial aid to Israel until a ceasefire and a lasting, sustainable solution has been made. I will not and never support the murder of innocent civilians, especially children.
Thank you, Marisa. Ben, what are your thoughts on America allocating billions of taxpayer dollars to foreign countries while facing pressing issues at home, like housing and healthcare crises, escalating costs of living, climate concerns, and various other humanitarian challenges? And what is your stance on endorsing a permanent ceasefire and discontinuing financial aid and weapon sales to Israel?
Well, we are a rich country, but we can't afford to be so isolationist that we don't realize the threats that are out there. And Ukraine is one of those investments in the future which protects us. If you go to my site, benduel.com, you will see that my picture is a transparent yellow and blue over it. I'm fully in support of the Ukrainian people. All the help that we can give them. As far as Navalny is concerned, well, the best way to avenge Navalny's death is to continue supporting Ukraine. We are only as good at home as we are abroad. And this is how we protect ourselves, is by supporting other nations when the moral choices are clear. In regards to Israel, you know, I've come to a kind of evolution on this throughout the duration of this conflict. I'm afraid my answer is going to be a broken record tonight. Yes, I believe we should support them. But at some point, and I think that point is reached, the support needs to be contingent upon humanitarian goals, and that would be a ceasefire. So I believe that this is a difficult issue, and it's one that only adults in the room can solve. There's not an easy answer to it. But right now, we've gotten past the point of being hurt, as the Israelis were hurt. And I understand their just total want to blame this and to end this forever. Because of any people, I think they deserve that. But at some point, a war has to stop.
Thank you,
The
Ben.
United States can perform a vital function in ending this conflict and making sure it doesn't happen again.
Thank you all. So now we have a wrap up. So I want to hear each candidate, and our community wants to hear each candidate share what it is you want the community to know about you in a minute or less. So good luck with this. Marisa, we're going to start with you. And you're on mute again. Let me see if I need to undo.
I think I did it.
Okay.
Okay, yay. I just want to again thank you all for this opportunity to speak with you. And I can promise you one thing, that I will go to work every single day in Washington and ask of myself and my staff, what are we going to do today that will improve the lives of the folks that have entrusted us with their vote? I am accessible, and like I said, I am the same person that you saw today. I'm the same person that I would be in Washington. So I look forward to earning your vote, and I again appreciate this time so very, very much.
Thank you. Ben, 1 minute.
24, 46, 27. That's the combination for winning this district. Those are the political designations for Democrats, 24%, Republicans, 46%, and Independents, 27%. A Democrat will never win this district. Democrats, I implore you, if you want your values, if you want the things done that you have always wanted done in this district and were totally not able to do because of its highly conservative nature, you vote for an independent who will work from the middle out on both sides to accomplish goals that everybody can share and everybody will benefit from.
Thank you, Ben. Kyle, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you everyone for having us here today and hosting. So I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all. If you want to know more about me, you go to Congressional 2024, as I said, and it's a good way to see the things that I've done in my career. I encourage you to go there and look at that, because what you'll see is they've got 4 decades of problem-solving experience. And that's what I want to leave people with, is that I'm actually a very reasonable person, but I'm one that can actually get in, and I've got the understanding, the skill set, the experience of solving problems. The problems that we have today that we face are fixable, but they're not fixable with the same rhetoric, the same finger pointing, whatever. We need someone that can go into Congress and achieve comfortable finding consensus, looking at a complex problem, and delivering results. And I am that candidate in this way. Thank you for your support, and again, Brooklyn 2024. Thank you.
We want to thank the 3 candidates that were able to participate tonight for Congressional 20, District 20, Ben Duell, Kyle Kirkland, and Marisa Wood. And then we are going to take about, it'll be about a 5-minute transition where we get our Congressional District 22 candidates set up and ready for their session.
1 minute warning. Thank you for your patience. We are having a technical difficulty with our candidate camera, and we'll be back shortly. To those of us who just joined, thank you so much for joining. We're having to set somebody up right now on Zoom. Give us just one moment. Thank you for your patience. Okay, thank you for bearing with us as we got this situation handled. If we can please have the candidate, Mr. Matisse, make his way to the front, please. Okay, thank you so much for joining us and bearing with us through our technical difficulties. We will now be starting our second portion of this congressional candidate forum. And for this session, we will be hearing from the candidates for Congressional District 22. We do have two candidates joining us today. One in person, Mr. Chris Mathis. And also joining us via Zoom, we have Rudy Salas. So this portion will have the same format as the first session. We will begin by having the candidates introduce themselves. They will have 1 minute to tell us about themselves. We will begin with Mr. Mathis, and then we will go to Mr. Salas, and then we will go straight into the questions. Okay, so you have your timer ready? Okay, so Mr. Mathis.
Thank you very much. Bienvenido. I appreciate you all coming. And first of all, this is a question of respect. Rudy's here, I'm here. The other two people running are not here. You made it here. As far as I'm concerned, if someone wants your vote or your support, they should be here in person to talk to you and or with what Rudy's doing. I started out in Sanger. I'm a farm boy, grew up in a ranch, went to the United States Army. I'm a proud veteran. I served my country in Panama. I love America, and I will always stand true to this great country. I came back. I went to Fresno State. I'm a proud Fresno State graduate, proud Bulldog. From there, I got into business. I'm in the real estate business, and we run cattle west of the 5 freeway. I encourage you to eat beef. That's the business I'm in. And I did serve 4 years on the Fresno City Council. I was proud to have served, worked hard, worked on both sides of the aisle, and got things done for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mathis. Now we'll go to Rudy Salas. Let's unmute him.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me. And thank you guys for putting this on. Bienvenidos. Gracias. I just want to say that my name is Rudy Salas. I'm the candidate for Congressional District 22. I was born and raised right here in the Central Valley. Like a lot of kids and a lot of folks here, I worked with my dad out in the fields. He ran a crew. So I understand that life. I went to all public schools, ended up going to UCLA, double majored political science and history. Always had a couple of jobs to help kind of pay my way through. Went right after college to work at the White House. Came back, worked at our local Cal State, getting kids into college. Was the first, ran for city council. Was the first Latino on the Bakersfield City Council, and then the last 10 years, I worked in the state capitol as your state assembly member. And so now running for Congress, want to just help make a difference. Appreciate everyone being here.
Thank you, Rudy. And now we will go straight into our questions. So for the first question, we will be going in alphabetical order. And it just so happens that Mr. Mathis is first in the alphabet. So, Mr. Mathis, the question is, how would you handle a situation where your personal values conflict with your constituents' wishes?
Good question. First thing I want to make clear is I'm a delegate. What's important to me is not what Chris Mathis thinks or does. What's important to me is what you, as the people that live in the Central Valley, think. And so you have my word to make sure that the district is going to be represented and your values are going to be represented. I was proud as a Fresno City Councilman to get things done that benefited the entire district, regardless of party affiliation or ethnicity or anything else. And so from my standpoint, I want to be a member of Congress that's local, that you've met. A big part of my campaign has been walking door to door. I know that sounds kind of how's it possible running for Congress, but believe it or not, we've walked many doors. And that's the way you find out what's going on. You're not by staying in Washington and collecting big donor money. What I pride myself as a councilman is to hold district meetings within the neighborhood so you can come out, express your views, tell me what's on your mind, what do you expect out of your congressman. And I would like to be able to do that if this is successful in my election. También hablo español. We have some gente que habla español aquí. Yo hablo bien. Tengo familia de Panama. I speak Spanish. I have family from Panama. I can tell you one thing, that if you're Latino and you don't speak English, I will be someone you can talk to and communicate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rudy, your turn. Same question. How would you handle a situation where your personal values conflict with your constituents' wishes?
All right. Thank you for unmuting me. I feel like my personal values and constituent values are aligned. I think that's why I've been elected over 10 different elections now. I believe that, whatever actually happens, I am going to respect my constituents' wishes. I'm going to respect the will of the community, respect the will of the people. So whether that's a proposition or a ballot, I'm going to respect that. But more than anything, my job is to listen to you. My job is to be here to reflect not only our values, but to do what's right for our community. And so I see these as one and the same. And if I'm your congressman, that won't change.
Thank you. And thank you all for respecting the time limit. We want to get everybody out on time. So respecting the time limitation is amazing. Thank you. Next question. And this time we will start with Rudy Salas. What is your stance on the separation of powers within government? Rudy,
I believe in the separation of powers within government. It's part of our checks and balances. It's a part of American democracy. It's what makes our government so strong, but it also brings accountability. There's accountability to each branch, and I support that. I believe that there should not be absolute power in any of the three branches of government, and that you need to have those checks and balances because it creates a better democracy. It's more representative of people, and we always got to remember that the power lies with the people and not within one specific branch. And I wholeheartedly believe in the separation of powers within government.
Thank you. Next question, next candidate. I apologize. It's been a long day. Mr. Mathis, what is your stance on the separation of powers within the government?
Clearly, that's important. I think what's made America a successful country for so many years is that we do have the executive branch, and we do have Congress, and then we have the judiciary. I do believe that sometimes the presidential or executive branch of government goes too far. They use something called an executive order, which you're familiar with. And when they do that, they will go around the will of the people. They go around the Congress and they make decisions on their own that don't necessarily benefit the people. I also have concerns with the courts and with the judges. If you look at some of the decisions that are coming down where people will vote on something and then a judge overturns it, I don't believe that is good government. I think at the end of the day, if people decide something is best through a ballot measure, that needs to be the law and not be able to be overturned by some judge that has a different opinion. When we talk about representing who, at the end of the day, we're supposed to represent people and not the personal view of a judge. And I see that going on a lot.
Thank you. Okay, so next question now, and we will begin with Mr. Mathis. Question is, would you back legislation like HR 1511, which aims to amend the Immigration and Nationality Act to provide a pathway to citizenship for immigrant individuals contributing to our district's agricultural industry and economy? Now, for context, real quick, this is not new legislation. This would simply amend the registry, which hasn't been updated since 1986, before I was born. Proceed.
Well, I have to say, I'm a child of immigrants. My mother and father came from Switzerland, and I'm very proud to have a daughter-in-law that's here, if you want to wave Mahabat, and she's from Kazakhstan. And she came here and went through the proper channel. She worked hard. She learned to speak English fluently. She learned our Constitution, and she's about ready to take her test in a couple of days. And I strongly believe that that's the path to citizenship. You come here, you make sure that you have your paperwork in order. You know why you're coming, you know what you're going to do. And if you're of an age that can work, you have employment and you have jobs that need them so that you come here legally and you add value to our country. What I don't support is an open border where anyone comes across. We don't know who they are, we don't know what their intentions are. They don't have the proper paperwork, and they don't have necessary skills to be able to work, and they don't necessarily want to work. Coming to America is a privilege, and it's something that you have to earn. My parents earned it, and my daughter-in-law. Strongly believe that that's what you should do when you come to America. You need to come here in the right way, come to learn English, assimilate, embrace our culture, become a proud American. And to me, that's the path that people should take. And another thing I support is those that want to join the armed forces. I think that if someone from another country wants to join our military and show their allegiance to our flag, I think that's another path to citizenship. And then I tell my Uncle Albert that he went through the Korean conflict. He came from Switzerland. He was not an American, but he served in the United States Army as a Swiss man and became an American and now a citizen.
Thank you. Rudy, the question is, would you back legislation like HR 1511, which aims to amend the Immigration and Nationality Act to provide a pathway to citizenship for immigrant individuals contributing to our district's agricultural industry and economy.
Yes.
Okay, I think you know what it is. No.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we do need a pathway to citizenship. I fully support a pathway to citizenship. There's no reason why our neighbors, our friends, people that work in the agricultural industry, that promote our economy, that pay taxes, that are part of our community and the fabric of our community, shouldn't be afforded the opportunity to become citizens. I fully support that. And I believe that we should be integrating everyone into our community. And this is one of the ways to do that. We know when the original legislation was passed, this was the goal and the aim was to make our community safer, make our community stronger, make our economy stronger by having people live out of not living in the shadows and be a part of our society, be a part of our democracy, and be good tax-paying citizens.
Thank you. Question. Sorry, I forgot. I didn't put all the questions on here, but I have them on paper, no worries. So the next question is, somebody in the community wants to know, what is something, starting with Rudy this time, what is something that has been a struggle in your life?
Thank you. I could say there's been struggles throughout my entire life, right? When I grew up, I lived in a farm worker family, right? And so we had to actually fight to put food on the table. And that's why I went and helped my dad out in the field so that we can do that. But when you look at like the neighborhood I grew up in, and you look at the things I've been able to accomplish, I grew up by the fairgrounds. I grew up in a very, very modest family. And at one point, my family lived in a converted garage. So, you look at those struggles and you say, how can you make life a little bit better? What can we do to make life a little bit better for others? And so those are the things that I grew up with. Those are some of the challenges. But I've been able to overcome that because of the opportunities of like being able to go to a public school, being able to go to college, being able to come back and serve my community through elected office to help make a difference, right? So when you look at like the millions of dollars that we brought back into the Central Valley to double the funding for school children, for instance, it's like I remember what it was like not even having the latest textbook in school, right? When you look at the money I brought back for public safety, it's like we all want to be able to feel safe when we're walking to and from school or just walking in our communities with our families. And so, you look at the things that I've done and the things that I've delivered, it's really, really focused on families and focused on here because that's what I grew up with. Those are the things that I wish I had kind of growing up as well, that we need to make sure that we have these opportunities. And more than anything, it's like, even though we have challenges, we need to make sure that we have elected officials that understand what those challenges are and are willing to do something about them and make life a little bit easier and better for everyone in our community. Thank you.
Hey, George, can you unmute so that they can hear him better? Sorry. Okay. Next candidate, same question. Mr. Mathis, what is something that has been a struggle in your life?
Well, it's a good question. I guess it's all started when my parents came over. Keep in mind, they both came over from Switzerland, and I still remember the first real struggle was
and then my dad.
refugees, right? The 501s, you've got to become a good American boy now. And then we were speaking German at home, and my dad would tell my mom, well, how are we going to communicate once we get in the first grade? You better start speaking English with these kids. So that was a little bit of a struggle, you know. It was a little frustrating with, you know, just again, a little bit of discrimination that my dad faced. I had a strong German accent, and I heard a couple of people call him a Nazi, and my dad said, you know, we were in Switzerland, we were neutral, so I think you got the wrong country there. But just that little bit of pressure as a young man that was difficult. But frankly, the biggest struggle I'm going to right now is running for Congress and pasting millions of dollars that is coming from Washington, D.C., which is an absolute swamp. And they're attacking me day after day on television and radio. And I just don't understand it. Why would somebody in my own party attack me? I'm a conservative Republican, I'm a soldier, I'm someone that served our country, I'm the only veteran run. And so I just don't understand this ugly Washington-based swing. You know, when you start affecting your family, you start affecting things like it as a councilman, I resent it. You know, my job was to make sure our community is safe. We pulled a pedophile out of the neighborhood in Fresno so that children and families could be safe. Now, Republicans out of Washington are saying that I help pedophiles, and it's on TV, and it's on the radio, and it's on flyers. That's my biggest struggle, is facing my own party and talking me daily and spending millions of dollars.
Thank you. So we're going to try to, George, turn down the volume on Claire's. Yeah. So they hear you more clear. Yeah, just unmute and because the issue is that her laptop creates too much feedback when the sound is up. Okay. Next question. So the next question, and we will begin with Rudy Salas, correct? Yes. Okay. The question is, Rudy, what are your thoughts on America allocating billions of taxpayer dollars to foreign countries while facing pressing issues at home like housing and healthcare crises, escalating costs of living, climate concerns, and various other humanitarian challenges? What is your stance on endorsing a permanent ceasefire and discontinuing financial aid and weapon sales to Israel?
Okay, thank you. I think there was like 3 parts to that question. I'll try to get to all of them. The first part was standing with our allies abroad and supporting American democracy abroad and liberty. I think we need to do that when you have your friends. I learned this growing up. My grandparents, my parents say, you know, you stand by your friends and you stand by the people that support you, whether that's your family, your friends, or your neighbors. And so I believe that we need to do that. America needs to do that across the world and here at home as well. In terms of infrastructure and actually doing and addressing the issues here at home, absolutely, we need to do that. I am really proud that the Biden administration voted on a lot of the infrastructure and jobs package, things that, you know, our current Congressman, Mr. Valadeo, voted against. You know, things that actually help with safe drinking water, things that help with water infrastructure, things that help with our roads, with our bridges. Everything that we need here in our own economy, you know, expanding healthcare access, making sure that we have access to affordable healthcare, doing those types of things. And then for the conflict around the world, whether, we see it in Israel, we see it in Ukraine. I believe that we should be supporting our allies, and, Ukraine has a right to defend itself just like Israel does. I think we do need a pathway to peace in all places. Nobody wants to see a prolonged war anywhere. Nobody wants to see families and children and innocent people being murdered or becoming victims. So I definitely believe in the humanitarian aid aspects. I believe, we should be living by the Geneva Accords. We should make sure that we are doing everything to prevent the innocent killing of families, women, and children. We need to make sure that the hostages are returned. But we need to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to protect people, but we need a negotiated peace. We need to expand, and for instance, in Gaza and in Israel, we need to expand on what happened during the Camp David Accords. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to continue to keep doing. And so I just want to be at the table so that I can help with those discussions.
Thank you. Mr. Mathis, same question goes for you. Let me repeat it. What are your thoughts on America allocating billions of taxpayer dollars to foreign countries while facing pressing issues at home like housing and healthcare crises, escalating cost of living, climate concerns, and various other humanitarian challenges? What is your stance on endorsing a permanent ceasefire and discontinuing financial aid and weapon sales to Israel?
Let me start out with the Ukraine. Traveling to the district, talk to so many families, seniors that are on fixed income, seniors that can't keep up with inflation, with the cost of living. And at the same time, we have an administration that has sent $44 billion of aid to the Ukraine. To me, we reached a point in our time that we have to start putting American citizens first, the needs of Americans. We talk about budget deficits, and you wonder why California's upside down on the budget. Well, just look at how much money that we spend on services for people that aren't from America, that aren't American citizens. I really think also that our partners, and let's face it, people that live in Europe have a lot more money than we do. And so why are they not paying their share? Why is it always up to American citizens to bail everyone out? If you look at the numbers, we're spending 5 to 10 times more than these other countries that are richer than us, that have a higher gross national product, that have higher incomes, strong economies. And frankly, I think it's time that America looks in and sit down. If you look at Israel, overnight in 24 hours, 1,200 people were murdered. Women and children were decapitated. And so they have no choice, and they still have no choice to weed out this kind of terrorism that is right next to them, literally right on their border. And until Israel is able to control Hamas and control the terrorist attacks, they need to continue what they're doing and make sure that all the tunnels are discovered, and that anyone that is going to harm Israel, the citizens of Israel, is held accountable.
Thank you. I think it's now time for the raffle. I could ask that question. Oh, sorry. Okay. Should you be elected, how would you, sorry, we will begin with Mr. Mathis for this question. Should you be elected, how would you ensure your policies reflect the diverse values of our society?
Well, that's a good question. I grew up here in the valley, farm boy from Sanger. I'm in the cattle business. I depend on the valley to make my living. I understand how important water is, what the jobs are. You hablo español, relate to people that have walks of life. The ones that we have people that are working hard, they're struggling. You know, I have family that's elderly, that, has concerns on being able to afford to live in the district, live in California. And so just being from here, being from the valley, working, having worked, having been responsible for payroll for the last 2 years, which, as far as I'm concerned, is very important, because it shows responsibility. If you hire someone, you need to pay them. My opponent filed bankruptcy and $14 million he need to pay back. I mean, since when do you do that? You're going to be an elected representative for your district. You have to live by example. When you're not paying your workers, you're showing us that you're not worthy of being a member of Congress. And how is it possible that my opponent owed $14 million and 2 years later didn't know anything? And that's my concern with Congress. Why are all the members of Congress knowing this? Why are they trading in the stock market? Since when should somebody in Congress trade the stock market? And they know what's going on before we do. And so it's time to separate the Washington swamp from the district. And like I said, you have my word, being from here, local, my entire life, my living here, raising my son, running by the way, I didn't introduce him. The man who lives, he's here too. You can count on me to reflect the values of SUDA.
Thank you. Back to Rudy. The question was, should you be elected, how would you ensure your policies reflect the diverse values of our society?
The way you do that is being out with the people, being out in the community. You know, I was born and raised here. My family grew up here, worked here. You know, and I plan on raising a family here. I mean, you know, being with the community, understanding what those values are, but understanding exactly what they are. You know, Chris had outlined a lot of things that, you know, the current Congressman, Mr. Valadeo, has done that's actually against our community. And I would even add to that, you know, I mean, just recently he voted to cut Meals on Wheels for our seniors. He voted to cut veterans benefits. You know, he voted against the infrastructure bill to actually bring in millions of dollars in jobs and actually fixing our communities right here in the Central Valley. And so, you know, my job as a congressman is to listen to you, to understand what the needs are, to make sure that that we address all of the issues, that we make sure that housing is affordable, that we make sure that healthcare is affordable, that we're expanding coverage, that we're expanding access to more nurses and to more doctors and doing those types of things. And so, you know, I want to make sure that we're reflective of every community here. But with that, I also know that there's a special thing that we have to pay attention to, and this is will become this is the most Latino district in California now, and we have to make sure that we pay attention to those needs as well.
Thank you. So the next question, we'll begin with you, Rudy. Should ICE detention facilities be subject to greater congressional oversight?
There should be oversight in everything that government does, right? I chaired the Joint Legislative Audit Committee where we audited everything under the state purview. Federal government should be no different. And so we should make sure that things are happening in an efficient way, that things are being done in a humanitarian way. And I believe in accountability. I believe that every aspect of government should be accountable, and that we should be holding those hearings. And that's a big part of being a public servant, is making sure that we're also a public steward of taxpayer dollars and making sure that those dollars are being spent correctly.
Thank you. Mr. Mathis, same question for you. Should ICE detention facilities be subject to greater congressional oversight?
Yes, most definitely. I think communication is extremely important. I think that, a sheriff or a police chief should be able to communicate with ICE and make sure that if there's someone that has a criminal background, that before that person's released, that they're notified. I think that communication is very important. Unfortunately, currently that's not happening right now. There is no communication. It's illegal for someone to communicate regarding anybody that's being held and released with different agencies. That communication should continue to take place. Again, community, primary focus, I think of government in general is public safety. If you don't feel safe in the neighborhood, if you're dealing with crime, your neighborhood, people are taking things from you and there's no accountability for doing something wrong. I can tell you a quick story. A lady I know works at Rite Aid. I'm sure it's the Walgreens. They come in with bags. They fill the bags up. They look at the clerks. They know the clerks won't do anything. They know that there's no consequence. And they walk out. They steal merchandise. What does that mean? That means you're going to get that when you buy something at Walgreens. And so there has to be communication. We have to know who's breaking the law and the people are in fact legally. They need to be held accountable and return to their home country, especially if they're moving from their life.
Thank you. So now we will do our wrap up. And the wrap up question, we will begin with you, Mr. Mathis. You will have 1 minute to tell us what main points do you want voters to remember about you and your candidacy?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Rudy for participating. He's the only one that has respect enough to come here and talk to you. I thank you very much, Rudy. Appreciate that. But I can promise you, I will be someone here that you can count on. I will be acceptable. I will be available. I will never not show up if you have a forum. If all of you take the time out of your precious afternoon to be here, I need to do that to be your member of Congress. It's not up to you to find me, it's up to me to find you. And I have a record as a city councilman. I was very acceptable. It could be a barking dog or it could be a speed bump, but I was there to answer needs of my constituents. And I will give you that same personal touch and service as your member of Congress. I'd be honored for your vote. It's mathiscongress.com. It's all true. Appreciate you taking the time to read it. Thank you. And have a blessed day.
Thank you, Mr. Mathis. Rudy, we're back to you. The question was, what main points do you want voters to remember about you and your candidacy?
All right, thank you. And thank you, Chris. I appreciate those words and respect you for being here and answering questions as well. But voters should know that I work hard every single day to try to make their lives better, whether that's making sure that things are affordable, like capping the price of insulin for people with diabetes, expanding health care coverage, bringing more nurses and doctors into the Central Valley. But my whole thing that I would love for people to know is I've delivered. I wake up every single day trying to make life a little bit easier for people, and I have a record of doing that. And so, más para decirle en español, aquí estoy para servirles. Nomás quiero decir que cada día quiero mejorar la vida de nuestras familias en nuestra comunidad. Y aquí yo estoy para servirles. And I just want to say thank you very much for doing this, and thank you for being here. And just know that I'm always a phone call or text away, or you could catch me at a local community event, because that's what I think is a true heart of a servant, is someone that's actually out in the community doing the hard work. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rudy, and thank you to both candidate Mathis and candidate Salas for taking the time out of their day to join us and participate in this candidate forum and be out in front of constituents, people who they will be representing should they be elected. That is the end of the second portion, the Congressional District 22 forum. And I do want to very briefly remind y'all that the California primary election is in 2 weeks, Tuesday, March 5th. And if you don't already have a voting plan, you should think about making a voting plan. And those, some of the things you should think about is how are you going to vote? How are you going to get to the voting center where you choose to vote? If you choose to vote by mail, when are you going to mail that off? Make sure that you seal that envelope, sign it, and date it. And also, if you choose to vote in person, you also, since Kings County is a Voters' Choice Act, have more ways or more days to vote. So beginning Saturday, this Saturday, February 24th, 2 voting locations will be open in Kings County through March 5th. So that's 11 days. Beginning Saturday. Voters' Choice Act means that you have more days and more ways to vote. If you If you are going to vote in person, you have any of those 11 days and up until 8 p.m. on March 5th to cast your vote. You also can vote curbside now. That's also something else that the Kings County Elections Office is rolling out. There will be a designated curbside voting parking spot for those who have difficulty getting out of their vehicle. You will park in that designated parking spot and call the number on the sign. And then the Kings County Elections Office will ask you what voting center you are at. And then they will relay that information to the staff at that site, and somebody will come out and help you vote curbside. And that is pretty much it. To stay up to date on our work, you can follow us on our social media platforms. We have them here on the screen. And if you would like to donate to Valley Voices, then you can scan that QR code. We are a nonprofit organization. All donations are tax deductible, and our work, we wouldn't be able to do it without generous donors like yourself if you're a donor. But also we are grant funded and funded by donations also. So thank you so much for taking the time out today, and I hope you guys have a lovely night.
Thank you.